The Slayer by Sarah Cubitt. All the voice actors and actresses that are in this series will be listed in the description box below. Everything in the Slayer trilogy and supporting series has been thought up by Sarah Cubitt. Please do not copy any of the materials and post them as your own. You can read along with this series on Wattpad. Prologue. A letter to the reader. Dear whoever's reading this, I guess, I'm not sure how to start this. Where to begin? I think that's the best way to start, actually. You know, the very beginning, before everything. But I'm not really sure, though. It's a bit weird, this. I mean, it's one thing to live through it all, but it's another to write it all down. Bring order to what seemed like chaos. In a weird way, it kind of feels as though I'm reliving all those horrible memories again. But every one of us has to do it. I don't expect this to get out to the mortals, but with the slim chance it does, I don't mind going through it all again. They need to know. Well, more like you. You, reading this, you need to know. Well, to state the obvious, if you're reading this and you're not a mortal, then you must have level 7 clearance, seeing as you somehow got access to the archive vaults of the Watch, where I have a funny feeling this book will reside once they read what I'm writing. Now, before I even make a start on my story, I'd like to thank whoever you are for choosing to read my story out of all the Slayer stories you could have chosen in the vaults. Or, as I like to call them, the truth about the Watch. Although that is a bit long for a book title. I still like to call them that, though. But you see, for all I know, you're a weirdo who decided to read through all the Slayer journals. But you see, for all I know, you're a weirdo who decided to read through all the Slayer journals. I'm gonna write mine a bit like a book, so tell me what you think. And no, I'm not writing it like a book because I forgot to write in my journal every day. Totally didn't forget. No! Moving on. After I've finished with my documentation on the Watch and my experience as the Slayer, I must warn you that you're going to know the truth about the organization that we work for. That means everything about it. Even those juicy secrets that those high operatives up in level 10 refuse to tell anyone. Well, they aren't allowed to tell us them. So you may be put in danger, or anyone under level 10 clearance will be anyway. Sorry about that, but don't say I didn't warn you. Unless you are a level 10 clearance and you have been told to destroy this documentation, then hey, how you doing? I hope you're having a good day today. How's the weather where you are? It's very cloudy here, but you deal with what you've got, right? Anyway, I'm going to start back at the basics. All the way back to level 1 training, where you learn about the Watch. What it is, who works for it, why we work for it. As well as that, I'll tell you about the Slayer. You know, that famous girl everyone in the Watch loved for some reason? Well, they did, up until I came along and fucked up the whole system. Okay, I'm sorry, but you knew it was coming. I had a prophecy about me. They don't just write prophecies about anyone. That should have been enough warning for you. As you are probably well aware, in this oh so lovely world, there are demons out there. You've most likely fought one or two in your lifetime. You should know the true extent of their powers by now. We all know they're fast. The ones that are deemed level 7, the royal ones, or as they like to be known as, the beings of darkness. Which is a bit of a lame name, if I'm being honest with you guys. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that name gives me the mental image of a 1970s Norwegian rock band, not a so-called royal demon. But still, regardless of their level and regardless of their stupid names, they're all extremely dangerous and should not be taken lightly. Now they, like all demons infesting our Earth, must be stopped and killed, do they not? Of course they do, which was the whole reason why the Watch was created in the first place. A response team specifically trained to combat and defeat the demons. But now you're thinking, what kind of a fool would risk their lives trying to do such a treacherous job? Well, that would be me, Helena Alexandra Moore. I am 5'10". I have brown hair, brown eyes, and most importantly, I am average in every way possible. Well, that's who I used to be anyway. By that, I mean, I'm not so average now. Actually, I'm quite well known. I'm now known as the Slayer. Well, the most recent Slayer for my generation. You may also know me as the Missing Slayer, depending on who you are and when you read this. Through reading this book, you, my friends, are going to learn of a world that very few know anything about. Well, that is if you're a mortal who is somehow reading all this, which is so cool if you are. And thanks to Miranda. Or Katie. Or Violet, actually? I don't know. One of the girls. Sorry guys, but let's be honest with ourselves. It was probably a girl who managed to sneak this out of the Watch and get it published. Not a guy. We are, by far, sneakier than you guys. Not to mention being better at multitasking and being more reasonable and less silly? Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, now I remember. How I came to be a part of the Watch. It's simple, really. It's all down to the blood in my veins. I was born to be a part of this world. This amazingly scary world runs through me. I breathe it, feel it. It's in my genes. The Watch, it's all I know as my true home and family. But let's not get into all of that. You should probably know a little bit more about the organization I work for. We are personally responsible for all supernatural beings living here on Earth. We are known as the Council of Watchers, but we worker bees just call it the Watch. It's so much simpler that way, less of a mouthful. The Council of Watchers has been in existence longer than any other human organization to date. The Watch originally began, or so we've been told, as a group of just 3 people. But of course, these were no ordinary people. At the time, they were 3 of the most powerful beings on the entire planet. A Wicca, or a witch, whatever you want to call her, and 2 shadow men. They are also known as witches, but I am not getting into that argument again with Lord G. They came together in order to combat the demons who'd made Earth their home. In the beginning, humans and demons alike could share the Earth. But the demons got greedy. They started to hunt. They started to kill. Then the Watch started. They wanted to stop the demons from harming the humans. But they knew they couldn't. Not even if they tried. Their powers were bound to the elements, so they needed someone to fight for them. So, on the night of the 7th moon, on the brink of twilight, they stole a young woman from her home and combined her with the essence of a level 7 demon and created the first Slayer known to man. Their plan worked. She fought the demons well, making them curse her name and run back to their different dimensions in fear. As the ages progressed and generations passed by, a new Slayer was needed to continue to drive the demons back to their own hellish dimensions. That's where it all started. Eventually, the only demons left on Earth were those who had managed to mix blood with humans. That's how werewolves were created. The demons had bred with humans. Vampires? however, were born out of possession, encompassing the mind and soul of their chosen human. The Watch needed to grow and evolve to meet this new evolution of threats. And the years went by and groups of academics were drafted in, working behind the scenes to facilitate the actions of each generation's Slayer, whom they, and they alone, could control. Or so they thought. The Watch, you will learn, also has ties with every major government, granting them unconditional access to vast financial resources and untold magical capabilities. Imagine that. Having all that power. Being above the human race itself. Even I don't know half the secrets within the Watch. And that's saying something considering the fact I've managed to break into it at least 5 times. Twice, recently in the last month. Hey, I never said their security was good. Unfortunately, the Watch grew complacent. Their methodology of simply identify the problem and let the Slayer handle it, even if it killed her, which had served them surprisingly well over the years, made them take their eye off the ball. They started to take less of a hands-on approach with the demons. They got sloppy. Their training slacked. The Slayers weren't as prepared as they used to be. Humans started disappearing again. Slayers were lasting shorter and shorter. This went on well until around 100 years ago, when the last Slayer was killed and a predecessor for the next generation could not be identified. Eventually the Watch had to start training others up as makeshift hunters to do the job in her absence. Until the next Slayer was found to take up her rightful role, no one was deemed worthy of truly defeating the evil lurking in our world. And this is where I come in. Sorry, I know that was long, but to understand my story, I have to start from the beginning, don't I? I mean, that's where all stories start, right?